Today, we're diving deep into one of the most ambitious quests humanity has ever undertaken, the creation of artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Now, we're not just talking about the kind of AI that picks your next movie or answers a simple question. No, this is about building a machine that can actually think, that can learn and understand, really understand, with the same kind of breadth and depth as a human mind. And maybe, just maybe, go far beyond it. Just think about that for a second. It's a technology so profound, its arrival is basically seen as a line in the sand for our entire species. There's the time before AGI, and then there's the time after. But, this monumental story, it doesn't start in some crazy futuristic lab. It actually starts way smaller. It starts with a young boy, a chessboard, and this deep fascination with how the mind itself works. And this journey, believe me, it takes us from a simple kid's game to solving one of the biggest mysteries in all of biology. So our story really revolves around this one person, Demis Hassabis. As a kid, he wasn't just, good at chess. He was one of the best young players on the planet. He was just totally captivated by its patterns and its strategies. He saw it as more than just a game. It was this perfect little system where every single move had a clear consequence, a reward or a punishment. But man, this was also a world of insane pressure and just grueling mental combat. So try to picture this. He's 12 years old. He's in this huge church hall, and he's 10 hours into a match against a former Danish champion. He is completely exhausted, and in this one moment of fatigue, he makes a mistake. He resigns. And then, seconds later, he realizes he could have forced a draw. He said he just felt sick to his stomach. And that moment, right there, it crystallized everything for him. He looked around that hall at the hundreds of other brilliant chess players, all dedicating this incredible brain power to this one game. And he thought, what if? What if all that intelligence could be harnessed for something bigger? That thought, that question, it became his life's mission. Well, fast forward a few years, and he co-founds a company with a goal so completely audacious, it sounded like it was ripped straight out of science fiction, DeepMind. And their mission? It wasn't to build an app or some new product, it was to solve intelligence itself. You can just imagine, right? They'd walk into these venture capital meetings and say, yeah, we're going to build AGI. Most of the investors were just baffled. They're like, okay, but what's your product? How are you going to make any money? But Hassabis, he was looking for a different kind of investor, someone who thought the mission itself was just incredibly cool. And he insisted on building the company in London, way far away from that move fast and break things culture of Silicon Valley. For the first 2 years, they were in total stealth mode. The office location was a secret. They started gathering this team of brilliant dreamers, kind of like a Manhattan Project for AI, all of them united by this one incredible long-term goal. So how in the world do you even begin to build a general intelligence? Well, their answer was actually pretty elegant. You start with games. Not because they wanted to build the world's best gamer. No, it's because games are the perfect digital playground. They're a controlled environment with super clear rules and a really clear goal: win. The engine driving all of this was a concept called reinforcement learning. The easiest way to think about it is like training a puppy. The AI, or the agent, it tries something. If it's a good move, it gets a reward, a higher score. If it's a bad move, it doesn't. And just like learning chess, over millions and millions of attempts, it simply teaches itself the best strategy to get the most rewards. Okay, so their first big test was with these old Atari games. They literally just gave the AI the screen pixels and the score. That was it, no instructions. And with the game Breakout, after about 300 rounds, it was already playing as well as a skilled human. Pretty cool, right? But what happened next? That was the real breakthrough. They just let it keep playing. And after 500 games, it did something no human player had ever thought to do. It systematically dug this tunnel through the bricks on one side, sent the ball up behind the wall where it just bounced back and forth, destroying everything. It had invented a brand new optimal strategy all on its own. So with this incredible success, they set their sights on the ultimate challenge, the ancient game of Go. Go is just so mind-bogglingly complex that the kind of brute force computation that beat the chess champion Garry Kasparov, it just wouldn't work here. For a lot of people in the AI world, mastering Go was the holy grail, something they thought was still decades away.
So in 2016, DeepMind's program, which they called AlphaGo, faced off against Lee Sedol, the world's top Go player, in this historic 5-game match. The entire world was watching. And then, in the second game, AlphaGo made a move 37, that left everyone, and I mean everyone, completely stunned.
The commentators were baffled. They said no human would ever play that move. It just looked like a mistake. Later, the DeepMind team actually checked their own system. The probability that a human player would have made that exact move, 1 in 10,000. It wasn't a mistake. It was a stroke of creative, almost alien genius. AlphaGo won the match, and that right there became AI's Sputnik moment.
But you have to remember, the goal was never really about the games. The games were just the training ground. Now that the power of AlphaGo had been proven, it was time to point this new kind of intelligence at a real-world problem, a grand challenge in biology that had stumped scientists for 50 years. So proteins are basically the machines of life, and their shape is what determines their function. For decades, scientists had this dream of being able to predict that 3D shape just from a genetic sequence. I mean, a breakthrough like that would completely revolutionize medicine. The problem was, it just seemed impossibly hard. DeepMind's first attempt at this was called AlphaFold, and in 2018, it was the best in the world. But as one scientist put it, it was like having the tallest ladder when you're going to the moon. It was impressive, but still not actually useful. But they didn't give up. They rebuilt the entire system from scratch. 2 years later, the results were in. They had done it. Okay, to really get the scale of this achievement, just consider this. In 50 years of hard work, scientists had determined the structures of about 180,000 proteins. AlphaFold predicted 200 million of them. And then they just gave it all away. They released the entire database as a gift to humanity. You see, AlphaFold was way more than just a scientific breakthrough. It was a clear signal to the entire world. The era of AI solving humanity's grand challenges was no longer some distant dream. It was here. And that success, it just ignited a global race to build whatever comes next. And this really brings us to the central tension of this whole story. On one hand, you've got this immense, incredible dream, using AI to solve our species' greatest challenges. But on the other hand, there is this profound sense of responsibility. As Demis Hassabis himself says, that Silicon Valley mantra of move fast and break things is the exact opposite of what we should be doing with a technology this powerful. So, from a simple thinking game to unlocking the very secrets of life, the journey to AGI has been absolutely astonishing. It's brought us to this critical moment where the tools are being built and these systems are learning at an exponential rate. We taught AI to play our games, and now it's starting to change our world. The question that really affects every single one of us is, what happens next?